Let's get to the latest now from the United Kingdom. A crucial few hours ahead for British Prime Minister Theresa May, who earlier delivered her address at the British Parliament as members of Parliament debated on her alternate Brexit plan. May said that it was time to send an emphatic message to the European Union about what the UK Parliament wants regarding Brexit, and also agreed to seek to reopen negotiations with the EU over the Northern Ireland backstop.
Mr. Speaker, over the past few weeks, this House has left no one in any doubt about what it does not want. It does not want to leave the EU without a deal, because that would hurt our economy and disrupt people's lives. It does not want to hold a general election, because it would waste time, increase division and solve none of the problems we face. But I also accept that this House does not want the deal I put before it in the form that it currently exists. The vote was decisive, and I listened. So the world knows what this House does not want. Today, we need to send an emphatic message about what we do want.
The Irish backstop remains the main bone of contention that divides the lawmakers in the Parliament. The backstop deal remains crucial as it is an insurance policy in a way in the UK-EU Brexit negotiations that is meant to make sure that the Irish border remains open. Now, Theresa May has said that she would go back to the EU to get a significant and legally binding change to the controversial proposal, which aims to stop the return of border checks. However, Prime Minister May said that she knows that there is limited appetite in the EU for renegotiations, but she believed that she could secure a deal. Prime Minister May is expected to hold several conversations over the phone with key EU leaders throughout the day, ahead of a series of Commons votes over the future direction of Brexit.
We will bring a revised deal back to this House for a second meaningful vote as soon as we possibly can. And while we will want the House to support that deal, if it did not, then just as before, we would table an amendable motion for debate the next day. Furthermore, if we have not brought a revised deal back to this House by Wednesday the 13th of February, we will make a statement and again table an amendable motion for debate the next day. So the House will have a further opportunity to revisit this question of leaving without a deal. Today, we can and must instead focus all our efforts on securing a good deal with the EU that enables us to leave in a smooth and orderly way on the 29th of March.
Let's take a closer look now at a crucial part of the Brexit negotiations. It is the border that separates Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, which is becoming one of the major sticking points. Why is the Irish backstop so crucial? It is an insurance policy in the UK-EU Brexit negotiations meant to make sure that the Irish border remains open. Backstop arrangement was part of the draft withdrawal pact as well. It is the toughest issue to resolve as far as the Brexit negotiations go. Both Britain and Ireland and our EU member states, after Brexit, the Irish border becomes EU external frontier. The checks would be required on products coming in and out. Britain, Ireland and the EU have pledged to avoid infrastructure at the border. In fact, Brexit may also lead to officials being stationed at the border. EU's cherished single market may be undermined as well. British and Irish checkpoints were removed after the 1998 accord. A peace accord ended decades of conflict that killed over 3,500 people. That's why that issue is so significant. And our correspondent, London Bureau Chief Mandy Clarke, has been tracking the very latest coming in from the House of Commons. Mandy, a crucial few hours ahead, Prime Minister May has expressed her willingness to go back to the drawing board, but that's something she's been talking about for a while. The question remains over whether the EU would be willing to negotiate any further.
Exactly. And she has made it perfectly clear what she needs is a very clear mandate. There has been noises from Brussels suggesting that they might be willing to go back to the negotiating table if they have a very, very clear idea what Britain wants and will pass through Parliament. They have no interest in renegotiating, only for it to fail in Parliament again. We've just heard that the Cooper amendment, this is an Yvette Cooper, she's a Labour peer, pushing the no-deal Brexit amendment, effectively saying that Britain cannot do a no-deal, that they'd either have to extend Article 50, that means more time to negotiate. That is going to be voted on tonight. We know that more amendments will be. We don't have a lot of the details, but we are seeing very similar themes in the amendments that will be voted on, which involve the border issue, which is that backstop, and the no-deal Brexit.
Right, and let's also speak a little bit more about why the next few hours are that crucial for Prime Minister May and for the United Kingdom. What happens to the UK economy? What happens to the Britons if a no-deal Brexit becomes a stronger possibility?
Well, there's lots of differing views, but overall, I think it's unanimous that it would be very damaging to the economy. Some argue for the short term, some other argue for the long term, but both sides agree it'd be very damaging. So we're seeing these amendments that are calling for that Brexit can go ahead, but that a no deal is off the table. It is not something that would be good for either side. Now, if one of those amendments go through, it would certainly bolster that case. Now, the government isn't bound to it. So these amendments can go through, but the government doesn't necessarily have to follow it. However, it would be difficult for Theresa May to claim that she's listening to Parliament and then turn around and ignore their amendments. So in many ways, her hands will be tied to whatever amendments that pass through.
All right, we're going to leave it there for the moment. Mandy Clarke, thanks very much indeed. We'll, of course, keep coming back to you as and when further updates trickle in from the House of Commons.